I inflicted pain, shamed and divorced my timid wife, married my ambitious, smart, and hot mistress, lavished her with wealth, luxury and devotion. Yet, she betrayed me for more wealth and power. Chapter 1: A Perfect Union. The grand ballroom of the Sinclair estate glittered with chandeliers casting golden light over the guests, celebrating the long-awaited union of Alexander Sinclair and Helena Davenport, a multi-billionaire titan and owner of Sinclair Technologies. Alexander Sinclair stood tall beside his new wife, Helena Davenport. The couple had just been married in an opulent ceremony, their names already whispered in the corridors of power and business. As reporters pushed through the crowd to get a closer shot, "Alexander, over here. Alexander, why the sudden marriage after all these years?" Alexander smiled, his piercing blue eyes gleaming with determination as he held his new wife's hand. He was known for his stern business mind, a genius who could envision a world with technology that others could only dream of. Yet today, he stood before the world with a new look in his eyes. Helena, his former mistress, was now his equal in everything. Married to him, bound to him, not only by love but by ambition. "The future is now," he said in a calm but authoritative voice, addressing the press. "I am giving Helena half of my assets. That's how deeply I trust her." She had always been the charm to his strategy, and now she stood beside him, poised to conquer the business world with him. "To us, my love," Alexander whispered, raising his glass. Helena leaned into him, smiling seductively. "To us, my dear husband. Finally, the world is as it should be." It had taken years for them to be together, years of clandestine meetings, stolen moments, and secret desires. Only after the death of Alexander's grandpa was he able to force his wife for divorce. Chapter 2: The Invincible Duo. Alexander was the mastermind, the strategist who turned ideas into empires. But there was a secret part of his success that few knew. Helena Davenport was more than just a wife, she was his confidant, his special strategist, the woman who knew how to navigate the tangled webs of the business world. Together, they formed an indomitable force, growing Sinclair Enterprises at an astronomical rate. Helena was nothing if not a woman of ambition. Her intelligence and beauty gave her the perfect edge in a world dominated by men, and she wielded her power with a mixture of grace and cunning precision. While Alexander commanded the boardrooms, Helena subtly controlled the deals. In the cutthroat world of business, their competitors became nothing more than pawns in Helena's game. When negotiations became tense, Helena was always ready to strike with an unspoken threat or a well-timed manipulation. She made sure she knew their weaknesses, and they knew that crossing her meant losing everything. She reveled in the power she held, even if it came at the expense of others. Their marriage, forged in secrecy and ambition, quickly morphed into something much more, at least for Alexander. What started as a passionate affair between two power players soon evolved into a calculated partnership that extended far beyond the boundaries of love. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Chapter 3: The Art of Power. Helena Davenport sits behind a large desk, her expression poised and unreadable. Across from her sits a nervous businessman, Victor Hale, the CEO of a rival tech firm. He's sweating under the intensity of her gaze. A thick folder rests on the desk between them, file labeled confidential. Helena, leaning forward slightly, her voice smooth. "Mr. Hale, I must admit, I'm surprised by your reluctance to close this deal. We've already agreed on the terms, and yet here you are hesitant." Victor, fidgeting, shifting in his seat. "It's not that I don't see the value in it, Mrs. Sinclair. I just need to review the numbers again, make sure." Helena, interrupting, her voice still calm, but carrying an edge. "Oh, I'm sure you've reviewed them more than once. You're a smart man, Victor, but we both know that's not what's holding you back. She slides the folder across the desk toward him, her eyes never leaving his face. His hands tremble as he sees the contents, photographs of him with various mistresses, along with a series of documents detailing his company's tax evasion schemes. Helena, her lips curling into a small, dangerous smile. You see, I understand your extracurricular activities. Victor, stammering, his face turning pale, you can't this. This isn't what it looks like, Mrs. Sinclair. Helena, interrupting again, her tone turning colder. It's exactly what it looks like, Victor. I can make sure it's all out there for the world to see. The tabloids would love it, they'd eat it up. How long do you think you could keep a lid on this scandal? How long before the regulators come knocking at your door? She watches him closely, letting the weight of her words settle. Victor, please don't do this. I'll lose everything. Helena, leaning back, her eyes cold and calculating exactly. You'd lose everything. But if you want to keep it all, Mr. Hale, you'll do exactly as I say. Then she slowly, deliberately slides another sheet of paper in front of him. An amended contract that shifts a larger share of the tech venture to Alexander's company. Helena, you'll sign this, it's simple. You give Sinclair Tech the majority stake in your latest project. And you won't just walk away with your dignity intact. You'll walk away with your freedom. No scandals, no investigations, no jail time. Victor, defeated, nodding okay. I'll sign it, but please, Mrs. Sinclair, you have to promise. Helena, cutting him off, her smile returning, sharper this time. I don't make promises, Victor. I only deal in results. She watches as Victor signs the contract, the pen scratching across the paper like the final nail in his coffin. As he finishes, she leans forward again, her eyes narrowing slightly. Helena, voice lowering, almost seductive. But you know, you could still make it ... easier on yourself. I'm a reasonable woman, and I believe in rewarding those who cooperate fully. There's just one more thing I think you could do to ensure your place in the future. Victor, barely lifting his eyes, still shaken. What do you want? Helena, you know what I want. My company needs not just your signature, your full commitment, and your loyalty. You'll ensure that the extra services you've been offering to my competitors come exclusively to us from now on. You'll send all those benefits my way, understood? Victor, understood. Helena, smiling sweetly, good. I knew you'd come around. Helena, one very important thing. She stood, closed and locked the door, then cleared his large desk, dropping the documents, and said, I need to check the package, you know, have a taste. When she's done with the deed. Sated. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. Before leaving, she casts one last glance over her shoulder. Her voice cold and final, her face exudes satisfaction. Helena, one last thing, Victor, remember, we all have a price. Chapter 4, Hidden Indiscretions. Despite the perfect marriage displayed to the world, Helena had her secrets. There were always men, handsome, powerful men, who sought her attention, and she gave it freely, so long as it served her purpose. She was meticulous, disguising her trysts as business meetings, ensuring Alexander never suspected a thing. One evening, she stood before the mirror, adjusting her pearl necklace, while Alexander lay in bed, exhausted from the day's work. Darling, I'll be out late tonight. A last-minute meeting with CEO Con of Con Real Estate. This could secure us millions. Alexander, ever the trusting husband, kissed her hand. You're incredible, my love. Don't work too hard. She smiled sweetly, but the moment she was out of the house, she met Charles Langley, a venture capitalist. The meeting was far from business, as Langley demanded far more than just negotiations. Helena knew that without offering him her special services, his financial backing would slip away. As time passed, more business partners caught on to Helena's methods, and they began to expect her personal attention in exchange for their investments. Each new deal ensnared her further in the web of deceit she had woven. To maintain control, she took desperate measures. On nights when she needed to meet her most demanding lovers, Helena resorted to drugging Alexander, a mild sleeping pill in his evening whiskey ensured. "You always work so hard, Helena," he murmured, fighting the drowsiness overtaking him. "It's all for us, my love. Sleep now. Tomorrow will be another victory." She left to meet Andrew McAllister, the American politician, who gave her heads up about taxes and employment laws. Those discrepancies could be settled between Helena and Andrew. "You're in deep now, darling." Helena smirked, slipping off her coat to reveal the dress he had gifted her. "And yet, I don't see myself stopping." She had built a fortress of lies, but every fortress had its weak points, and Helena knew that one day it would all come crashing down. Chapter 5: The Loss of Allure. A year into their marriage, something changed. Alexander, ever the visionary, began to feel something he never anticipated: boredom. The intense desire he once felt for her had faded, replaced by a cold indifference, while Helena remained ever supportive. Her beauty and charm no longer captivated him as they once did. He began to see her not as a passionate lover, but as an essential tool to maintain and grow his empire. The intimacy they once shared became secondary to business dinners, stock options, and international expansions. Alexander's gaze began to wander, though he didn't care to address it. As for Helena, she had no idea. She continued her affairs with reckless abandon, still blissfully unaware that Alexander had long known about her lovers, had turned into a complex web of convenience and subtle betrayals. One evening, as Alexander watched Helena at a business dinner, her laughter echoing through the room as she charmed a potential investor, he couldn't help but feel detached. It wasn't her fault, he realized. That it was his own disillusionment that was growing. The realization that she was no longer the muse. That pushed him to work harder, to be better. Perhaps their spark was just driven by excitement and thrill of their secret tryst. While their marriage dimmed the flame, Alexander excused himself, slipping into the quiet of the restaurant's back office to make a phone call. "Cassandra," he whispered into the phone, the longing evident in his voice. "I'm here, Lexi," came the soft voice, still carrying the innocence that made her so different from Helena. Only Cassandra had the right to call him that. "Lexi, I miss you. I'll be back soon. You'll be safe, I promise." Chapter 6: The Secret Sanctuary. Alexander had been in a relationship with Cassandra for 6 months now, ever since their chance encounter at a charity event. She was young, barely out of college, and had no idea of the world she was about to step into. At first, it was all about the thrill of the chase. But soon, Cassandra became something more, a breath of fresh air in a world that had grown stale. When demand for work became unbearable, Cassandra became his sanctuary. He bought a luxurious villa for her in a secluded part of the French Riviera in France, far from the prying eyes of his empire. If you like our story, please subscribe. Every time Alexander visited her, it was under the guise of a business trip. Their marriage, forged in secrecy and ambition. He kept the affair quiet, for obvious reasons. Cassandra was not someone he wanted entangled with his business, and certainly not with Helena. Alexander came home, he looked up at Cassandra, who was sitting on the plush sofa, her pale blue sundress shimmering in the warm light. "You're late," Cassandra teased, her voice soft but filled with a playful warmth. Business as usual, his eyes full of tenderness for her. "But it doesn't matter now, I'm here." He was beyond the corporate grind when he was with her. Her eyes lit up, and without another word, she stood up and walked toward him. Her arms slid around his neck, and she pressed herself against him, her lips brushing his in a kiss that felt like a slow, intoxicating spell. He pulled her closer, his hands caressing her back, losing himself in the moment. "How was the meeting?" Cassandra asked between soft kisses. "Unimportant now, I don't want to think about it." She smiled, pulling away slightly to look into his eyes. I want you to think about me, always." The sweetness in her voice was the last thing he heard before he was lost to her once again. Cassandra, playfully, her eyes sparkling. "Lexi, you always look so serious. Don't you know how to smile?" "Alexander, you call me Lexi ... I don't think anyone else ever does. It's a special nickname, don't you think?" "Cassandra, only for you. You're mine, after all. And Lexi just suits you better than Alexander. It's softer." Alexander was leaning back in his chair, studying her with an almost mesmerized gaze. "You have this way of saying things that makes them sound like truths. Simple truths. I could listen to you talk forever, Cassandra." "Cassandra, I don't have much to say, Lexi. But when I do, I want you to hear it." Alexander moves to sit beside her on the couch, his hand reaching for hers. "Alexander, do you want me to buy something for you, Cassandra? Any jewelry you fancy?" "Cassandra, I don't need anything from you, Lexi. I have you, and that's enough. Your love is all I could ever want. I don't understand why anyone would want more. Isn't love all we need?" Her words hit Alexander in a way he's not prepared for. There's no cynicism in her tone, no ulterior motive. "Alexander, you don't want my gifts. Don't you love the diamonds I got in an auction? Didn't you love our trips to Paris or Italy?" "Cassandra, no, Lexi, all I want is you. Even without those gifts, I'm happy with you here by my side. And when we're together, it feels like everything is right. Back then, I barely have anything. But now, what could I possibly ask for?" Alexander's heart tightens, his mind marveling at the simplicity of her love. Alexander whispered, "You know, Cassandra, I never expected to find someone like you. In a world full of excess, luxury, and manipulation, you're different. You don't demand for anything just to be happy. You just need me. I need you, too." Cassandra whispered, her gaze unwavering, "Because I love you, Lexi. And that's all I'll ever need. I just want to make you happy." Alexander is taken aback. Something inside him stirs, a feeling he hasn't allowed himself to experience. "Cassandra, I'll always love you, Lexi, and I'll always be here, waiting for you, no matter what. Alexander, I'll never leave you, Cassandra. I didn't know what I was looking for, but now that I've found you, I can't imagine a world without you. In this maddening race of life and business, you, Cassandra, is my sanctuary." For once, Alexander feels that perhaps love could be more than just a tool for success. Perhaps, with her, it could be real. Chapter 6: The Perfect Deception. But Alexander's life, no matter how blissful in private, was filled with shadows. His affair with Cassandra couldn't be discovered by anyone, especially not Helena. His assistant, Marissa, was fully in the loop. Marissa was sharp, calculating, and utterly loyal. Together, they devised a plan to keep Helena occupied with the company and unable to pursue any suspicions about Alexander's secret life. Make sure she doesn't leave the office for at least 3 weeks. Arrange for new projects, meetings, anything to keep her distracted. I need her focused entirely on the business. Marissa had nodded. Understood. I'll set up new mergers, presentations, and maybe even a new acquisition to keep her hands full. Good, we can't afford distractions right now. The plan worked like a charm. Helena was swamped with work and new business opportunities, drowning herself in corporate matters. Meanwhile, Cassandra and Alexander indulged in their secret love, in their luxurious private villa in Maldives. They spent the next 3 weeks lost in each other. Every morning, Alexander woke up to find Cassandra in his arms, her soft skin pressing against him like an anchor. It was like nothing else mattered. There was no empire, no wife, no responsibilities, just the pure, unrestrained love they shared. Alexander, once so consumed by ambition and power, found himself surrendering completely to the intoxicating pull of Cassandra's love. He made love to her like it was the last thing that mattered in the world. Slow, tender, and with an intensity that left him breathless. It was as if he was teenager again, basking in the glow of love. One evening as they lay together on the balcony. "Do you ever think about the future?" she asked, her voice soft. "I think about us," he said simply, his voice thick with emotion. "And about how much I want this moment to last forever." "Forever," she whispered. Yes, he whispered back, "Forever." And in that moment, he felt a feeling he hadn't felt in years. A connection so strong, it almost felt like fate. He knew it was wrong, but he couldn't help it. He was deeply in love. Chapter 8, The Prison of Power. But while Alexander basked in Cassandra's love, Helena was trapped in her own prison. Helena was swamped with work and new business opportunities, drowning herself in corporate matters. In the midst of their rapid rise to dominance, a new player entered the game. William Ford, a matured, strikingly handsome billionaire, the enigmatic and ruthless tech mogul, had set his sights on Alexander's company. William Ford, who had once been a distant adversary, had moved into Helena's life in a way that no one expected. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. He had always known she was vulnerable. Vulnerable not just to Alexander's neglect, but to her own deep desires for control and power. William had been watching her for months, waiting for the perfect moment to make his move. One evening, William invited Helena to a private dinner. The tension between them was palpable. William Ford is known for his arrogance, aloof demeanor, and selective nature when it comes to the people he interacts with. This was the first time Helena came too close to him. Helena, impeccably dressed, sat with precise elegance. Helena's gaze swept lazily over William from head to toe, taking in every detail. Strong jawline, high cheekbones, and a perfectly sculpted nose. Piercing green eyes and those luscious lips that seemed to beg for a kiss. Those eyes, both captivating and calculating, held an intensity that could unsettle or allure in equal measure. This man was dangerous yet impossible to ignore. A slow, appreciative smile played on her lips. She definitely liked what she saw. "I've heard so much about you, Mrs. Sinclair." "It's Helena, Mr. Ford." He had always known she was vulnerable. "Well then, it's just William for you." When William smiled, Helena held her breath. She was captivated. She thought, "This man is trouble." William, leaning forward, his voice low and teasing. "You know, Helena, you've always been a challenge. I've had women at my feet for much less than what I've seen from you." He studies her carefully, enjoying the way her eyes flicker with amusement, but also with something deeper, a hint of curiosity, of an undeniable attraction, that she carefully shields behind her composed exterior. With a soft, playful smile, her glass of wine held delicately in her hand. "Is that so, William? I'm not sure you'd want me to be like the rest of your admirers. You see, I enjoy being a challenge." Her tone is cool, casual, but there's an edge to it. One that piques William's interest further, captivated by the way she commands attention without ever having to try. William, grinning, "Well, I've always been up for a challenge, especially one as intriguing as you." He watches her reaction carefully, knowing she enjoys the flirtation. There's an undeniable chemistry between them, an undeniable connection that neither can completely ignore, no matter how much they both try to play coy. "Helena, I'm not like the others, William. And I certainly don't play games the way you might be used to. There are certain dangerous boundaries I won't cross." "William, then what do you want?" "Helena, what's stopping us from pursuing something more? We both know we could be an unstoppable force working together. I know you're capable of so much more than just standing beside Alexander." Helena's eyes flash, a flicker of something dangerous behind her poised demeanor. But Helena is no fool, and she knows William's motives. He wants what Alexander has: power, control, dominance over the industry. He believes that by drawing Helena into his web, he can take it all. With a controlled, yet dismissive air, Helena said, "I don't need to tear down Alexander to stand tall, William. My empire is my own, and I'm not in the business of destroying what I've built. There's a finality in her words, but William, as always, is undeterred. He's learned that with Helena, persistence is key. William, you know, I find it so intriguing that you can play this so well, yet not let yourself fall fully. I've never met a woman who's more adept at balancing power and pleasure. It's quite intoxicating. Helena, flattery doesn't get you anywhere with me, William. If I wanted to betray Alexander, I would have done it a long time ago. But I'm not as reckless as you think. William, with a knowing smile, leaned back in his chair. Oh, I'm not suggesting you betray him, not yet, anyway. But the way you're playing this game, Helena, it's only a matter of time. Before you realize you don't need him, not in the way you think you do. His words hang in the air, and Helena finds herself considering them. She's not blind to the cracks in her marriage. She knows Alexander's growing indifference. But what William is offering isn't what she wants, not yet. At least, not in the way he's implying. Helena, perhaps, but I'm not in a hurry, William. You've got your own empire too, and Alexander's empire isn't ready to fall just yet. She knows Alexander's growing indifference. William knows Helena is enjoying this dance of seduction, of power, of intrigue. But it's clear to him that she's not ready to take the plunge into the depths of his world, at least, not yet. William, his tone turning playful again. This time leaning so close to her, his lips almost touching her ear. You're always so careful, Helena, so composed. It's part of what makes you so damn intriguing. But I think you're underestimating what we could do together. There's no need for games, no need for pretense. We could be more than just business partners. You could have everything you want. You could have everything you want. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. Helena, and you think that everything I want is tied up in your schemes, William. Helena is considering his offer. She's weighing the risk, the temptation, the possibility of untangling herself from Alexander and starting a new Maybe one day, William, but not today. I still have things to consider, things you don't fully understand. William, I'm always here, Helena, when you're ready. At first, she had resisted, focused on the paperwork in front of her. But William's persistence wore her down. He wasn't just a businessman, he was a master manipulator. Slowly, he started enticing her into his world. William made sure to keep her always entangled with him. They traveled together, met with investors, and soon, Helena had become his mistress. She had lost herself in his world, seduced not by affection, but by the prospect of a power that rivaled her own. Chapter 8, Trap in the Power of Desire. Helena is seated at her desk, reviewing documents. But her mind is elsewhere. She has even forgotten about Alexander. Every time she looks at her phone, she can feel the weight of William's recent words echoing in her mind. His obsession, his possessiveness, is a constant presence in her thoughts. Her mind is torn between Alexander, the man she once loved and still shares a business empire with, and William, who consumes her with a passion she's never known before. The sound of her phone vibrating on her desk cuts through her thoughts, her heart skipping a beat when she sees the name flashing, William Ford. The tension in her chest grows. She has become addicted to the way he makes her feel wanted, desired. Although she knows that every time they meet, she crosses another line. Still took his call, William. William, Helena, I need to see you. There's something important we need to discuss. It's about the new project we've been working on. I need you here, now. His words send a flutter through her chest. There's a sense of urgency in his voice, something that demands her immediate attention. The subtle dominance in his tone, the quiet command, that urges her to drop everything and come to him. She tries to resist, but deep down, she knows she's powerless against it. Helena, I'm in the middle of something, William, can't this wait? William, I wish I could say it could wait, but this is critical, Helena. Please, come, I'll explain everything once you're here. She bites her lip, conflicted. Her mind tells her to stay. But her body betrays her, yearning for the pull of William's obsession. She knows that once she steps into his world again, there's no turning back. He's become an addiction, and she's too far gone to stop herself. Helena, fine, I'll be there in 30 minutes. She arrives at the sleek, glass building that houses William's company. It's late in the afternoon. She was led by the receptionist to the CEO's exclusive elevator, her stomach tightening as she steps into the elevator. William, Helena. I'm so glad you could make it. Come in. Helena, you said there was an urgent matter to discuss. William smiles, his gaze softened. His presence fills the room, powerful and magnetic. The way her eyes flicker with a mix of desire and apprehension. The way her posture changes when he's near. He's learned how to make her crave him. How to make her feel like she belongs to him and she knows it. William, Helena, I've been waiting to see you. He walks toward her slowly, deliberately. His gaze never leaves her, like a predator stalking its prey. The intensity in his eyes is like a silent promise. A promise that he will take what he wants, and she will give it to him. Helena, I have a lot of work to do. William, can we keep this brief? But even as she says the words, she feels that familiar pulse of anticipation. A thrill running through her. She doesn't know what it is about him. His words, his gaze, the way he moves, but it ignites something deep inside her that she can't control. William, you've always been so careful, Helena. So controlled, but you can't control everything. Not with me. Helena's stomach tightens as she realizes something. William, you came because you couldn't resist, could you? You're addicted to me, Helena. You want to admit it or not. Her pulse races as she tries to maintain control, but it's slipping. With every word, with every move he makes, she feels her resolve crumble. William has entrapped her in ways she never expected. This isn't just about business anymore. This is about power, control, and possession. William, don't pretend you don't want to see me, Helena. You know you do. You're addicted to me, just like I'm addicted to you. His words hang in the air, and Helena stiffens for a moment. There's truth in them, she can't deny that. She's become addicted to the way he makes her feel. The way he demands her attention. The way he makes her feel like she's the only thing in the world that matters to him. But there's also fear. Fear that if she lets herself go completely, if she gives him everything he wants, she might lose herself in him. And yet, part of her craves that loss of control. Craves the way he possesses her in ways Alexander never has. William, oh, you see, the difference between you and Alexander is simple, Helena. He's never had the guts to truly take what he wants, but he pauses, leaning in closer. I've already claimed you. You won't admit, but you're too far gone to stop me now. Helena, you're wrong, I'm not. I'm not yours, William. Her words are a lie, though, she knows it. William, smiling knowingly, his hand brushing her hair behind her ear, the touch both tender and commanding. She knows Alexander's growing indifference, William. You say that, but I see the truth in your eyes. You don't fear me, Helena. You fear what will happen if you let go of the power you've always had. But deep down, you crave it. You crave me. Helena's breath catches again. He's right. Helena, you don't understand. I can't just give in. There's too much at stake. William, oh, but you already have, Helena. You already have. In business, in bed, you've let me in, and now you're mine. All you have to do is accept it. He steps back slightly, his gaze never leaving hers, as if challenging her to deny the truth. Her voice breaking slightly, the walls inside her crumbling. And what if I do? What if I just give in and let you have me, William? What happens then? She knows Alexander's growing indifference. The question hangs in the air, a moment of vulnerability she never thought she would allow. But in that moment, she knows there's no going back. She can feel it in her veins, the addictive pull of his obsession. The way he makes her feel seen, wanted, important in ways she never felt with Alexander. William smiling darkly, his voice dripping with desire. Then, Helena, you'll finally understand the power of surrender. And trust me, once you do, you'll never want to go back. She knows he's right. Part of her knows that she's already addicted to the pull of his desire. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. And for the first time in a long time, she doesn't want to fight it anymore. She wants to feel wanted, truly wanted. She wants to feel like she matters to someone. And William, with all his obsession and possessiveness, is the only one who makes her feel that way. Helena looks at him, her gaze softening as she finally accepts the truth. She's his, body and soul, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to keep him. Suddenly, she realizes what's happening. She's been lured here. This is his plan all along, to corner her, to make her his completely. He led her toward a silk-draped chair, where golden padded cuffs gleamed in the candlelight. You enjoy pleasure, my dear, but I think you've never truly known pain. Tonight, I show you both. Helena's breath caught in her throat. For the first time, she felt genuine fear. William leaned in, whispering against her lips. By morning, you won't even remember his name. Her web of lies had ensnared her at last, but this time, she was the prey. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. Chapter 10, Cassandra is pregnant. The whirlwind of the business world never stops. For Alexander Sinclair, it's a typical day in his high-rise office as CEO. A call from his personal assistant interrupts his day, his normally stoic demeanor faltering slightly when he hears the news. Cassandra, his mistress, has fainted. Assistant, Mr. Sinclair, Madam Cassandra fainted. They're running some tests. They want you to come immediately. Alexander's mind begins to race. Cassandra. She was his escape, his secret indulgence. In his world, he is ruthless and fearless. But now, hearing she's in danger, the veneer of his indifference cracks. For the first time, the thought of losing someone feels too much to bear. Alexander, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Make sure they're treating her well. As the elevator doors close, he feels the weight of the moment. She knows Alexander's growing indifference. His business, even Helena, none of it matters now. Only Cassandra. He had never let anyone close enough to him to care this deeply before. But Cassandra had wormed her way under his skin in ways he couldn't ignore. And now it seemed like she might be slipping away from him. She knows Alexander's growing indifference. She lays conscious, her face pale. Alexander stands by her bedside, his focus entirely on the young woman. The door opens quietly, and Dr. Lincoln Oliver steps in, ready to check on Cassandra. What he wasn't expecting was the sight before him. Alexander Sinclair, a man known for his ironclad control, known to be married to Helena Sinclair, is carefully feeding Cassandra a small spoonful of soup. His movements tender and precise, as if she were made of glass. The doctor pauses for a moment, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. But he quickly masks it with professionalism. He knew Alexander, but they had no personal interaction with him since he grew up in London. Dr. Oliver, smiling reassuringly, Mr. Sinclair, good to see you. We've run the tests, I've got the results here for you. Alexander, thank you, Dr. Oliver. Please, go ahead. Dr. Oliver, the tests confirm it. Mr. Sinclair, Cassandra is, in fact, pregnant. 2 months along, to be precise. Congratulations. The words hang in the air for a moment, and Alexander feels the world pause around him. Alexander, breathing deeply, his voice soft with astonishment. 2 months. Dr. Oliver, yes, the results are clear. The symptoms you mentioned, the dizziness, the fainting, it all points to pregnancy. It's not uncommon for women to feel faint early on in the pregnancy, especially if they're stressed or not getting enough rest. Alexander runs a hand through his hair, struggling to maintain his composure. His gaze falls to Cassandra, who fell asleep soon as she hugged him. Oblivious to the world, she put all her trust in him. A flood of emotions rushes through him. The reality of it all is sinking in. A resolve to keep her safe and away from Helena. Dr. Oliver, I can see that, Mr. Sinclair, this is a big step, but I have every confidence that Cassandra will do well in her pregnancy. I recommend taking things easy for now, though she needs a lot of rest. I would list down medications and vitamins for her and the baby. Alexander walks to Cassandra's bedside, looking down at her with a mix of awe and tenderness. Alexander, she's carrying my child I never thought. I never imagined I'd feel this way. If you wish, we can arrange an appointment to help monitor the pregnancy as it progresses. Alexander, yes, please do. I want the best care for her. Whatever she needs, I'll make sure it's taken care of. Alexander, thank you, Dr. Oliver. As the doctor exits, Alexander remains alone with his thought. His world is changing, but for the first time, it felt like the change was something he could embrace. He planned to talk to Helena and maybe separate amicably. It is only fair after all. They were good partners for years. Until then, he needs to protect Cassandra and their unborn child. Alexander, you're carrying our child. We're in this together. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. Chapter 11, The Unraveling. Helena's private office. Her thoughts are interrupted when her phone rings, and the name William Ford flashes on the screen. William, his tone low, almost amused. Helena, darling, I thought you'd like to hear some news I just received. Helena, go on. William, I was in my grandpa's 80th birthday celebration when I overheard my cousin, Dr. Oliver, mention something about Alexander. His little affair with Cassandra has taken an unexpected turn. Cassandra is 2 months pregnant. Helena, pregnant, so he's having a child with her. Exactly, and I thought you'd want to know. After all, you've been such a loyal wife, wouldn't you agree? William's voice carried a subtle edge of satisfaction. Helena's mind races, replaying moments in her head, rethinking Alexander's distance in recent months. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. 2 months, that must be when I was in knee-deep with various business arrangements. A sense of betrayal cuts deep, but she keeps her tone even. Helena, why are you telling me this, William? Like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. William pauses, his tone now more serious. Because you deserve to know the truth, and because I think it's time you took matters into your own hands. You can't let him get away with this, Helena, not after everything. She looks out the window, her mind teetering between the 2 men in her life. Her husband, who once held her heart, and William, whose obsession and control both terrify and excite her. The call ends, and Helena lowers the phone slowly, her mind consumed with the path ahead. Her phone buzzes, she checks it without a word. It's a text from William. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't do anything foolish. The sound of the doorbell breaks the stillness. It was William. Helena ... You okay? His tone almost soothing. Helena laughed bitterly. Okay, I'm supposed to be okay, William. I've been with Alexander for over a decade. We built an empire together, and I followed his every command. He said never wanted children. He said it would distract from the business. So I had 2 abortions. Now he's got some college girl pregnant. William steps closer, his face a mask of concern, but with an undercurrent of something darker. William, Helena, he never wanted children because he didn't want anything slowing him down. You know that, you've known it from the beginning. You've been patient, but you never thought he'd choose her, did you? William, do you really think he values you? Helena, do you really think he cares as much as he says he does? This affair, this child, it's nothing to him. You are the one who matters. You always have been. But this is him revealing his true colors. Helena's eyes well with unshed tears, but she fights them back, refusing to let weakness show. Helena, I'm done. I've been patient long enough. He'll learn what happens when he betrays me. I want to go somewhere. I just don't know where. William, I'll come with you. And be with you. Helena, you are not alone on this. Helena glances at him, her expression conflicted but resolute. She knows William's obsession is part of what has drawn her to him. His dominance, his certainty. For the first time in years, she feels in control. She's no longer the supportive wife to Alexander. She's something else now, and it's time to make him realize that. As they walk out of the penthouse, the weight of the decision settles over her. William, on one hand, saw how vulnerable Helena is. He felt something new, the need to comfort and support her. Chapter 12, The Unthinkable Proposal. The events of the past few days have left Helena and William both in turmoil. Helena's pain is raw, still lingering from the moment she discovered Alexander's betrayal. William had assumed his obsession with her was born out of lust and control. But now, watching her, he realizes something far deeper has taken root. Helena, William, I need something from you. Something I never thought I'd ask. William, anything. Helena, you know that. Helena, I want you to make me pregnant, William. William's heart skips a beat. He has been waiting for her to make a move, but this is unexpected. After a long pause, his voice trembling with uncertainty. Helena, you don't mean this, not really. You've just discovered Alexander's betrayal. You're angry, hurt, and… Cutting him off, her voice sharp. No, I mean it. I want to make Alexander believe the child is his. I want him to think he's the father. I want him to feel what it's like to lose everything. To understand that I can have what I want too. Besides, I really want to bear your children. Would you let me? William's heart races. The sheer audacity of Helena's request both shocks and thrills him. William, you're willing to do this, even knowing what it means. You'll be lying to him. Helena, I've lived with his lies long enough. I've played the obedient wife, the dutiful partner, but no more. He never wanted a child with me. I'm done playing by his rules. I want a future of my own, and I want to see him crumble beneath the weight of what he's done. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel. If I have to deceive him to get it, then so be it. William listens, his chest tightening. He can feel her pain, her bitterness, and yet, in this twisted moment, he can't help but feel drawn to her even more. He knows what this request means for both of them. But part of him doesn't care. He's too consumed by her now. His love for her, though he's only beginning to admit it to himself, has grown too deep to turn back. William, you're willing to go that far for revenge. For control, for power. Helena, yes, and with you, William, I know I can make this happen. I need you to give me something Alexander could never give me, something real. William, his voice thick with desire. I'll give you whatever you want, Helena, you know that. I will be with you in ways Alexander never could, without hesitation, without guilt, and without limits. Helena meets his gaze, her lips parting as if to say something more, but she stops herself. Helena, make me pregnant, William. And together, we'll take everything he has, and we'll make him pay. William's heart races as he leans in closer, his breath warm against her skin. For the first time, he truly understands the depth of his own obsession with Helena. And now it has evolved into something else entirely. Love, even if it is tangled up with desire and dark thoughts. Chapter 13, The Ultimate Betrayal. The room is filled with tense executives and high-ranking members of the company, all gathered for an emergency meeting. Alexander Sinclair. His face is a mask of calm, but his eyes betray his mounting frustration and confusion. Across from him, Helena sits with an unsettling calm, her hands folded in front of her as she watches him. William Ford, standing just a few steps behind her, is a silent observer, a shadow looming over Alexander's empire. The news has just broken that Ford Technologies, William's company, has acquired a substantial portion of Sinclair Tech shares, pushing the value of the company to the brink of collapse. "What the hell is going on?" Alexander demanded, his voice sharp, his hands gripping the edge of the table. "How did you manage to acquire so many shares without my knowledge?" William, standing at the back of the room, remains silent for a moment. His gaze never leaves Helena, whose eyes are now dark and unreadable. She knows exactly how this moment will play out. It was her final act in the carefully executed plan. An older shareholder slammed a stack of documents onto the table. "Sinclair Tech has lost 70% of its shares. What is the meaning of this?" Alexander's brows furrowed as he flipped through the documents. His heart stopped. "No," he whispered, his eyes darting between the papers and Helena. "This isn't possible." Helena stood slowly, her lips curving into a cruel smile. "Oh, but it is, darling. William and I now own the majority shares of Sinclair Tech. The company is ours." Alexander turned to her, disbelief and betrayal etched into his features. You did this." Helena's eyes darkened as she stepped closer. "You deceived me first." She raised her hand and slapped Alexander across the face, the sharp crack echoing in the boardroom. Gasps filled the air. "I know about Cassandra. I know about her pregnancy." Alexander's breath hitched. "Helena, save it," she snapped. "I gave up to children for you, to abortions because you demanded my full attention. And now I find out you are ready to start a family with someone else? This is my revenge, Alexander. Losing everything, watching your empire collapse, knowing that you're powerless, that's the price you pay." Alexander's hands clenched into fists, his entire body shaking. "I plan to talk to you about it, to settle things amicably. I gave you half of what I have. Do you think I'm fool? I've known your sexcapades. Still, I trusted you not to betray me, at least, not this way. I trusted you, Helena. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe, Live Love Notes channel." "And you were my greatest mistake," she whispered coldly. She turned to William, who took her hand, his smirk never fading. "What about our child, Helena?" She leaned close to Alexander, her breath warm, against his ear. "The child I'm carrying," she murmured, "it's not yours." Helena pulled back, her eyes filled with triumph. "It's William's." With that, she walked out of the boardroom, her head held high, leaving Alexander standing in the ruins of his once great empire, shattered by the ultimate betrayal. He divorced his obedient wife, married his mistress, but she betrayed him for more wealth and power. This is retribution. He laughed and cried like a fool. He remembered his good wife, Claire. Epilogue. From her office, Helena Sinclair gazed out over the vast landscape, a sense of accomplishment settling over her. Sinclair Tech was now hers in its entirety. It was her legacy now, it was hers to command. William saw her for what she truly was now. Not just a partner in business, but someone who had learned to wield power, someone who had discovered the strength to shape her own destiny. Their connection had grown, trust, understanding. And though neither would admit it yet, love. "William, you did it. You took control, and you made it yours. You've built something strong, something lasting. Helena, I've always wanted this to be my own. To own everything I've worked for." Helena smiled. The victory, the triumph, felt satisfying. But it also felt hollow in some ways. "But now I realize that I am the one who holds the power. Not because of the company, not because of the money, but because of the choices I made." And for a moment, the harshness of the last few months faded. Had it all been worth it? Was she truly fulfilled? 1 year later, Helena had made peace with herself. And, more importantly, with the person she had become. She had stepped away from the relentless pace of her empire, a decision that felt like a weight lifted off her shoulders. Helena said softly to herself, feeling the gentle flutter of her baby, "I never thought this would be my life, but now it feels right. Beside her, William stood, his hand gently resting on her rounded belly, its twin girls. Unexpectedly, Helen was pregnant again, 5 months after she gave to their son. His love for her had grown exponentially over the months. He had seen her vulnerability, her strength, her ability to change. William had changed too. He had built a new life, one that included his son with Cassandra. He was running a new company that was growing faster than he could have ever imagined. William, you've changed. Helena, I've seen it. The power you used to crave, it's not the same anymore. You've found peace, and I've found a love I didn't even know I needed. Helena, I never thought I'd find this. It's like I was always running from something, trying to prove something, but now it's just us. Baby Michael and these girls. It's enough, William. Helena realized something important. She had forgiven herself, and in a strange way, she had forgiven Alexander too. Despite everything, Helena knew that Alexander had a place in her story, and for the sake of her child, she knew what needed to be done. 2 months before her due date, Helena arranged for a meeting with Alexander. She couldn't completely erase the scars of their past, but she could offer this one final act of closure. Alexander sat across from her, his eyes filled with cautious anticipation. Helena, I've thought about this long and hard, Alexander. For the sake of our child's future, I'm giving you back what's yours. Alexander looked at her, shock evident in his expression, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had expected anger, resentment. He had expected Helena to fight him, but instead, she was offering him peace. Alexander, Helena, I don't deserve this. After everything, you're still willing to help me? Helena, for the child, we both have a responsibility. This isn't about us anymore, it's about the future. And as they signed the papers that would end their shared ownership of Sinclair Tech, Helena felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She had forgiven him, but more importantly, she had forgiven herself. Her life was no longer defined by power and ambition. It was defined by love. Love for her children. Love for William. And perhaps a little drop of love left for Alexander. She had finally made peace with her past. With the coming birth of their twins, Helena is looking forward to a new beginning. If you like our stories, please like and subscribe. Live Love Notes channel.